Phoenix Down Radio is on the air. With your hosts, Klaus Nightbringer, Ser Kimono, Sayo Mayo, and Luna Vox.
Welcome everybody to episode 10 of Phoenix Down Radio. I am Klaus Nightbringer. How is everybody doing today? Let's go ahead and bring it into the game. We've got a full house today. I want to thank everybody who showed up to watch us today. Thank you very much. We all appreciate it. We've got a full house when it comes to hosts as well. Luna is here. We've got Sayer, and you may recognize a new face on the couch with us. We have one Sayo Mayo. Say hi, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Hi, guys.
Do we have a Sayer?
Sir, honey, you're muted.
He'll get that taken care of, I'm assuming, in a short
he'll get
bit.
it.
So,
He'll get it.
Anyway, welcome everybody. We appreciate.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
There's a Sir.
We have a
Sorry
Sayer.
about that. My
There he is.
computer chose that moment to explode. It
Oh,
miracle
no.
sense of timing right there. We're good now.
Never fails.
All right. Well, like I said, we are now in the double digits. We are 10, episode 10. What do you guys think of that? Do you think we'd make it this far?
We
Dude,
made it, guys.
our
This
show's
is the
halfway-
big time.
What do you say? The show's half
Our show's
over?
like halfway being able to drink.
Oh,
That's how that works.
There
right?
you go. I was like, I
Yeah,
hope we
okay.
weren't halfway over.
Years
Does that mean
wasted.
we can drink when we're live?
Well, I'll drink to that.
Awesome.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
So we actually have quite a bit of stuff to talk about today. We'll jump into a little bit of show news first. For those of you who may or may not know, last Saturday, Luna and I decided to have a little bit of a hot pepper challenge, we call it, I suppose.
Oh, you guys.
We decided
Basically, we decided to torture ourselves for your entertainment.
for your entertainment. We're raising money to try and get to FanFest. As you can see in the lower left corner of the screen, we're actually doing really well on that. We are over halfway to our goal to be able to hit FanFest this year, in no small parts to what we did on last Saturday. We ate a lot of hot food, a lot of spicy food. Luna chewed on some ghost peppers. I took way too much really, really, really hot horseradish. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Luckily, I
You
didn't
guys
get sick.
tortured yourself.
Klaus, on the other hand.
Yeah, Klaus didn't fare so well. But there was no hurtling of furniture, so no messes were made.
Not that
Stomach
we know
lining
of, at
takes
least.
time to heal, you know.
I think I'm better. But I have been eating a lot of extra hot food this week because, well, I have lots of leftovers.
What's a stomach lining?
Oh, dear.
It's one of those things that, as Sarah said, rebuilds after a little bit of time.
Oh, okay.
That's not what I said.
We raised $265 that day, so we want to thank everybody who was there and cheered us on. Watched us make fools of ourselves. All in good fun to be able to see all of you guys at FanFest coming in October.
Yeah, it was a challenge. Klaus puked, but we want to thank you guys from the deepest parts of our hearts, and we can't wait to hang out with you guys at FanFest.
Yep, that's basically it's what keeps us going. It's what keeps us doing this is your guys'
You guys
support.
are the real MVPs.
You the MVP,
You
yo.
guys. You the MVP.
Thanks again. We do appreciate it. Update on our Twitch and Twitter followers contests. We have seen a nice jump in Twitch followers, thanks mainly to Vox doing wasabi shots last Saturday night. Every time we would get a new Twitch follower, she would take a little bit of wasabi, and she hates wasabi.
Not so much anymore.
I told you it's an
Like,
acquired
honestly,
That's
taste.
improvement.
Yeah, I got that wasabi out. I tried it again. The first initial bitterness, I still don't like that, but the after effect is quite nice. I see
You
why
think
you
it's
guys like
bitter?
it now.
Well, plus the fact that it
the
really
very,
clears your
very
sinuses.
Yeah, I suppose so. But I
There's
can see
something about
where
the flavor
small
that just
amounts
I don't.
Yeah, I can see
love
where
it.
small amounts work.
So we are currently at 69 follows. So if you haven't followed Phoenix Down Radio before, just go ahead and click on the little green heart right below the stream. It'll let you know when we go live for our podcasts like this, as well as anytime we go live for any other shenanigans or streams that we do during the week. You'll see me streaming different static runs. I will occasionally just stream for no good reason whatsoever, just to get people out there and chill, have some fun. So yeah, it'll let you know when we go live for all of that fun stuff. And like I said, we're currently at 58 Twitter followers. So if you're not sure what this is, thank you, King of Knights. We appreciate your follow there. We're now at 70, so we're
Awesome.
we're moving up. When we hit 100 Twitter followers, we are going to pick a random person to receive a custom drawn commission from our very own LunaVox. And when we hit 200 Twitch followers, we are going to pick a random person to get a Mog Station minion. So, the faster we can get up to those points, we're going to be drawing for all that stuff, and people are going to be able to get the free loot. So go ahead and like and follow us there, guys. We really appreciate that. And tell your friends.
And if you guys need an example of my art, by all means, just ask. I have a Deviant art that you can go check out. It's Luna_ or LunaVox FFXIV. Go check it out.
Plus,
Give me a follow there.
You can also follow her on her Twitter account, Luna_Vox. You can follow us on the Phoenix Down Twitter at PHXDN Radio. I can remember what it is, right? And another one,
No,
we
you
appreciate
can't.
it, guys. Thank you. So, like I said, once we hit those number of followers, those contests, we'll get those drawn for everybody. A little more in-game news. I finally finished my relic, so we're that nightmare is done. Sarah and Luna, you guys still working on yours?
I am about halfway now. So I'm getting there, but it's pretty slow for me.
And just do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'd put myself at about a quarter of the way. Mostly with what I've had time for, I just make sure to do my Beastman dailies and occasionally do a map or turn in tomestones, but I'm definitely moving a bit on the slower path for that.
Well, nice thing about it, you don't have to push it too hard. I mean, it's a decent weapon, if you don't think you're going to get through a A4S, but it's something that you can do.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
It's something you can do
right.
in the time you have, which is really nice about that. So you either invest time in raids or you invest time in doing other grindy things.
Yeah, Yoshi P actually talked a bit about that, and I really appreciate some of his thoughts on it, though I think we might be getting into that a little later.
And I believe Seo's got his relic, correct?
I do.
So
I do have it.
you were one of the first ones in our group to have it. Between you, Skage, and Riss, you guys were really pushing to get those relics done, weren't you?
I got it about a week late. I had that week of Christmas and New Year's off, so I did a lot of grinding there. Didn't quite manage to get it done, but week after that I was kind of sick, but eventually managed to soldier through the rest of it and get it done that Sunday night.
Sick of the grind?
No, just sick. I'll get home from work and immediately crash.
Oh, I feel you. I was that way last week. Last week it was I had the cold thing going, but the relic thing just hit at the wrong time for me. Is because I had actually just started up 2 new jobs when the relic dropped. So I'm like, oh, there goes all my free time. So I had to go more slowly at it. But like I said, I think I'm glad I did it that way because I didn't get burned out as badly. So
I definitely like the pace of it. I didn't feel too pressured, but I could go as fast as I wanted to or had the time for. So no complaints here at all.
And I like the weapons as far as what they do, their stats. I'm not a big fan, at least, of the Bard design. When I posted it, everybody, it looks like a giant harp, basically. So, I don't know. It is what it is.
Does. You're a bard.
Yeah, but how am I supposed to shoot arrows with a harp?
You've got like so many bowstrings, and they make that pleasant little twang.
Twang!
Should totally have like your barrages are a Sondo.
If you say so. It just doesn't seem like it would work very well. I think you would break a lot more strings than you would, take down enemies in that case. But
Minor detail.
That's why you have all the extra strings. Is that what you're trying to say?
Exactly.
Klaus?
They're backup.
Klaus, would you say you're killing them softly with your song?
Of my people.
Banned. Banned. Perma ban.
Hey,
Band camp.
you're just jealous you didn't think of that joke.
Maybe a little.
All right. So if you like our shenanigans like this, you're going to love this little bit of news. Phoenix Down Radio now finally has a new website. You can now find us at phoenixdownradio.com. I worked my butt off yesterday trying to get that going, and it is now live. It is not in its final state yet, but we are live with our website. We are also using a new email address. For those of you who had us at phoenixdownradio@gmail.com, we are now podcast at phoenixdownradio.com. So send any questions, things you like to hear, comments, anything about the show, how much you like us, how much you hate us, how awesome my new glamours are, whatever. Send it to podcast at phoenixdownradio.com, and we will read through all of that and even read it on the air. So go ahead and use that. Go check out the website. It's going to show you everything about the show. We'll post when we have a new episode up. Random things in the game, news that we find, things that we hear about you, and it also gives you an opportunity there to follow us on Facebook and on our Twitter account. So check it out and let us know what you think in the comments. Like I said, it's a work in progress, and we really want your opinion on it. So check it out. Thanks. And of course, the new host, Sayo. So Sayo, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself so we can everybody can get to know a little bit about you.
Sure. I've been involved with Final Fantasy MMOs for probably the better part of my life at this point. It's over 12 years. Played a lot of 11. Did some hardcore raiding in there, or I guess what can be considered hardcore raiding in there. Dynamis, King, Salvage, what have you.
Kings.
And eventually didn't make my way over to 14 truly until 2.0 release, but I've been over here ever since, loving it. Taru Pride, Lala Pride, the end.
Yeah, you're also the reason why I'm a Lalafell, so...
Yeah, thanks, Sayo.
Yeah, thanks, Sayo.
That's pretty awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Sayo Obama.
You secretly love it. You secretly love it.
It's different. I'm going to say that. I'm getting used to the size difference, but when I get a chance... I walked into that one, didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you did.
You sure as heck did.
Moving on. Into some game news. I know a lot of you guys have heard about this, so we're going to go with something a little bit somber right now. We're going to talk a little bit about the voice actors of Yugiri found dead a couple weeks back. I know everybody's been talking about this one quite a bit on different podcasts out there, but we want to make sure to mention it as well, that they did find her boyfriend in Ghana, and he is being detained, and they're working on getting him extradited back to the UK so he can face judgment there. But what we really wanted to talk about today was how Yoshi P and the English localization team, they did respond to news of Xian's passing. So who wants to go ahead and read what Yoshi P and the team had to say?
I can open it up. I mean,
I've got it here.
Okay, go ahead,
it's
Sam.
just really, really sad.
All right. Yesterday, I received some unfortunate news from the agency of British Voice Talent. Cyan Blake confirming the passing of Cyan Blake and her two children. Cyan was a gifted actress. Her masterful portrayal of Gary, leaving a lasting impression amongst our fans. I had hoped she would be with us for many more performances to come. I'm deeply saddened by this tragedy and offer to Cyan and her children my sincerest prayers. Final Fantasy XIV producer and director Naoki Yoshida. And we have from the English localization team as well. There are no words to describe the shock and disbelief we felt upon hearing the tragic news of Cyan Blake and her two young sons. Though we only had the chance to work with Cyan for a short time, we were glad to have such an accomplished and dedicated actress on the project. She brought life to its character, dear to our hearts, and we will always be grateful for her contribution. Our thoughts are with her family and friends. English localization team.
I thought that was really nice what they said about that. So
Yes, it was very, very nice.
Yeah, I actually looked it up. Unfortunately, there was only, I believe, one scene that she was in Heaven's Word. That was the scene where you go and you rescue Raubon from Halatali. But the one scene that she did have was pretty well done, I have to say.
I have to actually say that I actually didn't get to hear hers. I used a JP voice acting, but I'm gonna have to go back and check that out. So
Yeah,
Rewatch it
I
using the
definitely
unending
recommend
journey.
it.
yep, at least they
I
give
do
us.
wonder what their plans are going to be going forward for that.
Well, we don't know if she pre-recorded any lines for 3.2 or any patches going forward, or if they're just gonna end up having to recast.
Right. And even if they had, part of me feels like maybe it's a little morbid to be using them. I don't know. This is always hard.
Yeah, well,
yeah, it's a really touchy subject.
I
for sure.
trust that
Yeah.
they're gonna do what they feel is best.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely not insensitive to the issue, that's for sure. So I have full faith in Yoshida and the localization team.
Yep, I was,
Yeah.
I was glad to see that they actually did address the whole issue, because it did seem like it took a while for them to, to say something about it. But like I said, I'm glad that they did it and they took their time to say the right thing. So, good on them.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to
Simple's
something,
usually better for this sort of thing.
moving on to something a little bit more happy. Pre-orders for the Art of Ishgard art book and the Heavensward OST are live. The book is expected to ship out February 5th, and the Heavensward disc is supposed to be shipping out on February 24th. So
I hadn't seen, were there any of the usual like pre-order bonuses or little inserts with minions or whatnot?
there are
this time
minions with
around?
both of
There
them.
are minions.
The book
There
will
are
get you the
definitely-
Realm minion, and the OST actually gets you the Edward Spoony Bard minion. I already
I
spent
was
my
saying,
money.
Realm
I've seen someone
floating
with the Realm minion already.
Yep.
Yeah, the Realm minion is actually floating around the server, probably because the Japanese book is already out and about
Mm-hmm.
and has
Yep.
been for a while.
People order from Amazon.jp and they get it in like 5 days and get their minion. So it's basically the same
That's
book.
Probably what I should have done. It's no different.
I did pre-order it from the Square Enix store just because, but I'm thinking maybe I
Their
should have done the
shipping,
same.
though.
I mean,
Their
the main
shipping
reason-
costs.
the main reason I'd want to do that is if everyone's getting the Japanese version and there aren't orders coming in for the English version, then are they going to be continuing to produce the English editions?
And I don't know if there's going to be any difference between the actual books themselves or not. If there's going to be, I know they said that the English book is actually produced in the U.S., but I don't know if they're going to make it like English translation or not. So I
Yeah.
figured,
They probably will to some extent.
so there was that aspect of it. Not that it's a huge deal. You're looking at it for the pictures anyway, right?
Yeah. I'm
but-
flipping through the original Realm Reborn one right now.
Yep. I
It's
can say
mostly
as
for the
an
pictures.
artist myself, looking at those pictures, well, looking at any art basically really helps. So sure, you can look at it from the picture, but as a reference and as an artist and appreciating that art, I really want this freaking book.
Well, you'll
Plus
be
the
able.
minion's a nice.
Yeah, it's a nice book. So hopefully you'll be able to get yours soon. Like I said, I got mine already on order. So they've
Yeah.
got
The concept art for Arius is really fun too.
The next producer live letter is scheduled to go January 30th, so 2 weeks from today, 1:30 a.m. PST. We will be getting a sneak peek at the new challenges coming with 3.2, which include some new dungeons, an encounter with the Warring Triad, and the next levels of Alexander. What do you guys think of that?
Ooh. I'm hoping they will have
I'm
like a
excited.
preliminary translation ready for our show.
Well, I'm hoping so too, because they're going to have a very special guest with this one. Our Koji Fox is going to be the special guest, and Sayer and Sayo, you're going to like this. They're actually asking everybody to tweet and submit their questions for lore to Koji Fox on their Twitter account and on the official forums. So
Yeah, if I asked everything I want to, I think I'd end up with a restraining order.
maybe.
Possibly.
So many questions.
But hey, I mean, this is almost a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity, unless we get to maybe meet them at a fan fest or something. But for those of you who are interested, like I said, there's going to be a spot at the official forums thread or the Twitter account at ff_xiv_en. You can tweet your questions with the hashtag XIVLive.
I wonder if he'll actually be speaking in English for that part of it.
Well, Koji is actually pretty fluent in Japanese, so actually I have a feeling that because it's probably going to be in Japan, it's probably going to be in Japanese.
Yeah.
On the
more
other
than
hand,
likely.
I would
You never
imagine
know.
I would imagine he'd be able to get the translation of his part to us very quickly.
Yes. If not, I'm sure there's going to be somebody at either BG or Reddit.
Oh,
We're-
I'm
we're
sure
gonna have the information
Mr. Happy's
fairly
going to
quickly.
probably do something.
Yeah, with Marco.
Hmm.
Yeah, they'll have something going. And I know that Vox is probably going to be up to watch it.
I
I'll be
will
up
be
to
there.
watch it.
Me
It
and
depends
Sayo.
on what I'm
let's do
scheduled
this.
for.
Please look forward to it.
Please look forward to it.
All right, DevPost news. Who wants to go ahead and take this one?
Can do that. So we have some dev posts that I found on the forums recently. So plan for 3.2, Duty Finder and Party Finder improvements. It will be possible to check if there are any existing Party Finder groups within your world for the corresponding duty roulette, dungeon, or trial you are aiming to undertake when opening the Duty Finder. By using this feature, it will help match up players on the same world who have the same objectives. Now, I actually have a question about that. Currently, right now, for the most part, you just queue with your party or queue solo. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a party finder heading added for certain roulettes, so that you can actually see that in the duty finder window. Is that kind of what they're saying
I mean,
here?
the impression I get would be that if you queuing for a particular duty, that it would, it's going to be periodically checking the duty finder queue, but it would also check party finder to see if there's one that's matching the thing, and if so, it might alert you, hey, this is a thing, do you want to go for that?
Or in the Duty Finder window, it may actually add an area that shows Party Finder. When you click on it, it's then going to filter out based on the dungeon selected in Party Finder, and it's going to show those. Which is something they should have actually had in the beginning. It's actually a really good idea.
Yeah. The more information that you can see in one screen without being too confusing, the better off everybody is.
Yeah, if they can actually get the design right?
It's easy
Right.
for that to get overwhelming.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Too much stuff on a screen? Heaven forbid.
No. Materia melding.
This one I'm excited about.
Okay. You want to take it?
No, go ahead and say it, but I'm excited when I read this one.
Okay. If you, let me preface by saying, Klaus, I know that you're kind of gunning for the crafting from the retainer.
Well, duh.
I think this is one step closer to getting that.
Right?
It seems like it's going in that direction.
That's what I
So,
thought, too.
Here it is. If you have the necessary class and level for a materia meld, you will be able to perform the meld without switching classes, similar to how this is possible for repairing gear. Thank you, devs.
Right? That is a really good news to see.
Yeah. Quality of life without any confusion or anything that they could possibly screw up is a good thing.
Exactly.
Retainers. It will be possible to assign jobs to your retainers, which means you'll finally be able to have a Dark Knight retainer if you wish. Or for your Arcanist retainers, you can finally put healing gear on them. Thank you.
The thing I always wanted was when I would have like warrior exclusive gear, and the last thing I had that was equipable by a Marauder was like 30 eye levels lower, and it's like, No, retainer. It's still an axe. It still has choppy bits. Just use it.
Right?
Yep. But now, question: are they going to set us back so we have to regain those levels, or are we going to get automatic 60 level jobs?
I would hope not, because if you theoretically never got a job crystal, you could level all of your jobs to all of your classes to level 60.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all you would
It
need,
would
I would
be
think, would be
generally a
retainer
bad
job
thing to
stone.
do, but you could do it.
Like, just a retainer job stone would be enough, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
I wonder how
That's
they're
a-
going to implement that then.
Maybe add like a little bonus quest to teach your retainers how to do jobs or something like that.
Possible. Definitely possible.
Yeah, I kind of wondering how they're going to resolve that with the lore too.
Oh,
Especially
man.
with like especially with the Black Mage quest, all those thaumaturges getting incinerated by trying to cast fire.
Well, I mean, they've had it in a lot of quests where once you're a high level at whatever job, part of the advancement becomes about teaching others. So maybe you're just going to also teach your retainer.
Maybe, but anyway, next thing, housing. Players will be able to preview furnishings as well as dyes before actually applying to them. Please note, however, that you will not be able to change the dye from furnishings, which are destroyed upon removal at this time. So please use the preview feature to get a feel for the dye before placing them.
Oh, cool. When are they going to
Yeah.
add more housing then?
Oh, dear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Salt of
Last
Fox
time-
continues.
Last I had heard was 3.3. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, we'll see about that. They could
I'll
easily
believe
add
it
it
when I
into
see it.
3.2 if they wanted to.
Yeah. Beast Tribe quest adjustments. It will be possible to obtain some elegant tombstones when completing Vanu Beast Tribe quests.
It's interesting because
I got
before,
nothing
like,
bad to say about this.
I mean, before the Vanu Vanu had been sort of, this is the one you do if you want experience on your jobs. The other ones give you the tombstones, they give you better progress towards your anima weapon pieces. The Vanu Vanu give you less of that stuff, but it was giving you experience. But once you start getting to the point where people have most of their combat classes capped, which I think some people are reaching in greater numbers, you start needing some kind of incentive to keep up with it.
Now, I know that, as kind of a correlation to this, this isn't from this post, but I know that the Nath quests are also coming in 3.2. And they're going to be structured like the Vanu quests are right now. So I'm wondering if if pushing the tombstones onto the Vanu so that they can make the Nath quests even more leveling efficient. I don't know.
Or they might just have it where it's like the previous World Beastmen ones where, hey, they give you similar amounts of XP and it's just which rewards you prefer, which other things. It's always been the case that if you started on the Beastmen quest from the moment a given one came out, you'd be completely caught up and capped by the time the next came out.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, venture scripts. I'm not even sure what these are. Have we ever heard of these before?
I'm not sure if they
Those are the
actually
things-
mean the venture tokens or if this is a totally new piece of currency that they're going to be giving to retainers.
That's the venture tokens. Scrip is an old term. It means sort of like a type of money. You would have things where towns would be paid with.
You're cutting in and out there,
You put it
Sarah.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of audio issues all over. It sounds like.
Unfortunately, yeah, that we have been noticing a little bit of roboting, and we do apologize for that, guys. What would it be have an episode of Phoenix on Radio without audio issues, right?
Right.
Anyway, getting back to it, scripts, that's something that they introduced in 3.0 with crafting and gathering. So, I mean, it seemed to me this is going to be a whole new currency then for the retainers.
Yeah, this
No,
is-
quite the opposite.
Okay.
When they first introduced ventures, the NPCs who talk about it describe it as a type of script that the retainers use. Rather than having to deal with paying the retainers in guild, you give the retainers script, and then they can take that off to wherever it is that actually hires retainers, which we don't care about because at that point they're out of our hair.
But they're just called ventures, though, in the game, whereas these are specifically called venture scripts.
No, I'm pretty sure it was explicitly described as script by NPCs back when you had the original quests. I'll go ahead and look that up really fast.
We'd have to double check that. So I mean, it's possible maybe it could be a next level type of thing, but we'll have to see what they bring up with.
Yeah, no, I wish they would take special care to when they're doing stuff like that, that they would take care not to put in any other wording or vocabulary that's not actually used on the item that people would say, oh, is this a new thing? Is this not a new thing? What are you talking about?
Yeah, it adds a lot of speculation.
But you know they're doing that on purpose because they know we're going to speculate on every little thing they say and do. And then who knows what we'll get.
It feels a little like overthinking it to me, honestly.
It could be.
We'll have to see. But I mean, that's some interesting things that we had to look forward to in 3.2, and we're going to learn a lot more on in 2 weeks on the 30th. So we'll definitely be able to report on that on our next show. So if you have any things that you'd like to talk about when it comes to 3.2 things coming up, let us know. You can send us an email, podcast at phoenixdownradio.com, or you can just go to the website phoenixdownradio.com and leave us a comment there. Now this next piece,
we'll actually be one of the first shows to break that. I'm really excited about that.
Exactly. I'm really looking forward to that one too. This next piece of information I'm actually very happy to share with you guys. During our Hot Pepper Challenge last week, we actually got a visit from Escalia from Limit Break Radio, and he kind of broke the news to us about his next charity stream, and we're going to go ahead and announce it again here for those of you who may have missed it. So on Friday, March 11th, he will be hosting his next charity live stream starting at about 3 p.m. titled You Are Not Alone. He will be playing Final Fantasy IX start to finish. Proceeds for this particular charity stream will benefit the charity Transgender Michigan. So we're going to keep talking about this so we can get as many people out there to go check it out and help support these charities that he really believes in and help out people. So I was really fortunate to be at his first charity stream for the Seeds of Acceptance, and that was a lot of fun. So I really hope that he can get a lot of people to support there. So
yeah, definitely. If you guys have a few bucks, tune in, help chip out. Even $1 helps.
Maybe we'll be able to bring back Team Palindrome. For those of you who are able to check it out, you'll probably understand that one. So.
Yeah, I wasn't there for the last one. I really hope to be there for at least most of this one.
Yeah, he's thinking this one could go over 24 hours. It depends on if the new version of the game for Steam comes out. It's going to have the same features that Final Fantasy VII has, where you can speed up the game. You can avoid random encounters, things like that. So it really helps to get rid of a lot of the grind in that aspect. So that's what we've got for game news. Let's go ahead and get into this week's discussion topic. Kind of what we wanted to discuss here is, during this time in the game, we're looking at a lot of we're looking forward to things that we don't necessarily have yet in the game. And with that, we're looking at how to get the most out of your time in game. So what you want to really do is you kind of want to think about it yourself. Find out, what you want to accomplish in the game. So, what kind of player are you? Are you a hardcore raider? Are you a person who prefers crafting or gathering versus doing a lot of the fighting stuff out there? Do you just really want to look pretty? Because to a lot of people that the glamour is endgame, right, Sarah? Well, I mean, a lot of us do that, so there's a lot of people who are into the role-playing aspect of the game. Or maybe you're just really big into PvP. Possibly you're somewhere in the middle. So, with that, it gave us kind of an idea of thinking about, what kind of player that we all are. So I asked everybody to kind of think about that and write down what we came up with. And I'll start. For what I came up with is, I'm really not quite a hardcore player, but I'm really, I'm more than just a casual or moderate core, mid-core player. I'm driven to be able to run all the content out there and enjoy as much as the game as I can, enjoy everything that the game has to offer, really, but yet really be able to do so without having to waste too much time in doing it. I don't have a ton of time every day to go out and just, sit there and wait for this, wait for that. I really want to be able to get in, do what I need to do, and keep moving on. Sometimes it seems a little bit rushed, a little bit hurried maybe, but, and it comes down to it, I only have so much time to do stuff,
I definitely agree.
Yep. Definitely agree with that.
So, Sarah, what kind of player would you consider yourself to be?
Oh, I mean, I kind of like doing a little bit of everything. I really actually like pulling out the challenge log and using that as a checklist of stuff to try to accomplish. I'll at least try out or at least study raids and watch videos of them. Not so much because I necessarily want to do it and get all the loot and everything, but more because I really love seeing interesting mechanics. Those of you who were watching the stream earlier today, you might have noticed we were running through the original Binding Coil of Bahamut, and I had a good time just like, hey, look at this interesting mechanic, look at this thing it makes you do. Yes, we can face roll our way through it now, but there's still an interesting set of things you need to do with it, and I really love watching the pieces of those machines move together. I know that Yoshi P recently, when he was talking about some of the challenge levels with Alexander, was talking about how there are a couple different ways where it's like either you clear hard content or you work steadily towards a goal or other things like that. I'm the type who'd really rather work steadily towards a goal. I enjoy gathering and crafting a lot. Gathering, I find it's a nice mindless way to just relax and blow off some steam and make a little time to listen to podcasts or otherwise have something just to occupy my hands while I'm thinking about things. And crafting is more of a, hey, here's another fun little puzzle. I've never really liked the whole, hey, you need to get to these exact stats and then you could follow the rotation and everything goes perfectly. I kind of like the, hey, the circumstances on this are going to change and trying to figure out what action you want to take to best take advantage of it or to mitigate. I like it as, hey, here's an interesting puzzle that's going to be mostly similar but vary a bit each time. But yeah, I like to do a little bit of everything, and I'd really rather work steadily towards one goal than try to hunt like those miracle jackpots.
No, I can definitely see that as well. It's one of those things where you can really get the most out of what the game offers at that point, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I hate feeling like, okay, I did this thing, went through this raid 5 times in the last week and nothing dropped for it. Like, the feeling that I've just been rolling the dice and losing and effectively wasted my time, because if it doesn't count towards the next time, then it does feel like it was a waste of time. I'd much rather have something where I can say, yes, I didn't get this today, but I have made tangible progress towards my goal. So stuff where you get tokens for something, that's nice too.
So you kind of like how they did things with, like, say, Ravana and Thordan, and the way they're doing the new relic quest then?
Yeah. I like being able to point to something and say, look, I am now 5% further along on this. I have a spreadsheet to track it. I have a lot of spreadsheets.
Oh, Sarah.
Dude, I am exactly 66% towards my Botanist Golden Axe, and I know it.
Yes, and you told me that earlier.
Well, I'm still proud of it. It's that kind of certainty is comforting.
No, so that's the kind of player you are. You you like to see physical, tangible evidence of your progress, not what can I do now? You have a plan and you kind of go for it.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Vox? What would you consider yourself?
I would not say I'm a hardcore raider, but that's kind of not by my choice. It seems that every raid that's going right now doesn't want to take the time for new players, at least that I've seen. I've hardly ever raided. You guys know, as I've said earlier, when we were running coils, that I have not done coils, basically. And I'd like to, but with my kids and most raids starting at 7 or 8 at night, that's bedtime for kids, and kids come first.
Yep.
As far as everything else go, I really like doing the PvP. I like to think of myself as a very knowledgeable player. I know what I'm doing. I want to know when people are being a bad versus when they're learning. And I don't mind chipping in to help people who are learn the game and learn to do things right. That's why I say that even if we're doing something low, let's do the mechanics so we can get through it and they can learn how it used to be done versus now where everyone just steamrolls everything. As far as anything else, I wouldn't mind getting into the role-playing community that Final Fantasy has. No, I will not ERP with you. Final. No. I do not care how big your e-peen is or how much you glisten in the light. No, I will not ERP with you.
We need
But I'd like to
Stage's,
get into that.
we need to get
Oh,
his
God.
his nope macro for that one.
Nope. But
Nope.
yeah, if I can find a nice little group of people who are into RPing that's actually on my server, I'm not going to server transfer, just do RP with you. Definitely still not going to ERP with you, no matter if, yeah, you know.
We don't need to go there anymore, Vox.
Yeah, we don't need to. But yeah, if I could find a good little group of people who mesh well with me and that are into RPing and want to build a friendship and want to build a story around that and build a story in game together, I'd be all for it. Let me know. But as far as that goes, I'm mainly the PvE person.
Well, I guess you'll maybe be able to find some with the new way that Raid's coming out in the next version. They said they're going to make it a lot easier. Maybe you'll be able to find a group that'll be able to, role play its way through it.
Maybe. We'll see though.
And Sayo, finally, what kind of player would you consider yourself?
I don't know. It's hard to really characterize me. I would say I'm mid-core. Focus on pushing the limits of what I can do. Anyway, I like big numbers if I can get them. I like to repeat fights over and over and over and get better at them, master them,
For you
speedrun
sexy
them.
folk.
Thank you,
kick
Chili.
their ass, But yeah, I also love getting gear, progressing, all that kind of stuff. And if there's somebody new in one of those runs that I do, which I can sit there and grind out a dungeon for a relic for a very long time if I need to. If there's somebody new learning something, I'm not going to beat them up over mistakes unless it's obvious that they're just being lazy. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, there's a huge
But
difference
Yep.
between somebody who's learning and somebody who's just, pushing buttons to get through.
But I mean, if I see you trying, if I see you doing something wrong because maybe it would make sense in another context or another game, I'm probably going to be the guy that points it out if I can. Don't ever take it personally, but that's just what I do.
And that's a good thing that we have people that are willing to help each other out. Like I said, I said I don't like to waste the time doing it, but if there's somebody who really wants to learn something and is having difficulty grasping a concept, I'm more than happy to spend the time teaching them how to do it. As long as they're willing to learn about it and not be like, no, this is my game. I pay my $12 and I can do this however I want.
That's my favorite line ever.
Yes, that's true. But you're also playing with a bunch of other people who are paying their $12 or $15 or however many dollars to play this game as well, and you're wasting their time too. So it's, be considerate of those things. If I'm willing to help you, be willing to accept the help, and vice versa. Take constructive criticism, but don't be a dick about it.
Exactly. It's all about people teaching people and people learning.
Exactly.
People getting better.
Yep.
I see a lot of people in the chat are talking about the type of player they are. Chili, I don't know if I'd necessarily call you a casual scrub. You're trying. I've caught you in a couple of different duty roulettes. Lanalieta being a filthy casual since 1.x.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing
No,
wrong
nothing.
with that.
I mean, sometimes it's fun to be a little self-deprecating. To
Exactly.
Say, hey, like, I'm not necessarily caring that much about this. This is something I do for fun. This is something where I derive my fun out of it in different ways.
Exactly.
And sometimes it can be, like, if you describe yourself that way, you could say, hey, I'm just looking for people who are like-minded. Not necessarily
Klaus,
this is the best or this is bad, but I want to find people who have a similar style.
Yeah, Vox.
wasn't I talking to you the other day that I said I wanted a shirt that said "filthy casual" on it?
Yes, you did. So you'll have to
Yeah,
see if you can
I-
find one.
I saw a guy wearing it. I need that shirt.
I'm sure you can find it.
That's kind of just a great one in terms of the whole idea of reclaiming language. Like the type thing where you have like epithets for minorities, they sort of reclaim and use themselves as like a sort of as a thing of pride and like reworking it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a similar phenomenon, I guess.
Filthy casual. I'm
I'm-
taking it back.
You know,
There we
I
go.
wonder if we write on the official forums that the English what am I thinking? The English translator people, the English you know, like
Localization
Koji and all
team?
them. Yeah, the localization team will put in a title that says "filthy casual."
That would be hilarious.
Maybe that can be
That
one of the
would be
rewards.
hilarious.
I'm
Maybe
sure
one
they
of the
can
rewards
find
for the
somewhere
Metro Hall.
to squeeze it in.
Oh, I'm sure they could.
That's actually a good idea, Sarah, to squeeze it into the beginners hall.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Filthy
Take
casual.
note.
Please look forward to it. Oh, so we kind of said what we are. You know, use that to kind of think of what type of player you are, and then you know when you figure out what type of player you are and the kind of things you want to accomplish, the next step is to find a group that has similar interests. You know, and as we all know, there's a lot of different ways to find groups in this game. From free companies all the way down to just shouting for it in Idleshire. Free companies, as everybody's aware of, they're basically our game's version of the guilds. Larger groups of players who can get together as a group and support each other through running content, crafting and gathering, or just being available for, if I need to run this particular dungeon for my story or whatever. We get a lot of new people who join in or whatever, and they're just there when people need help. It's like your big circle of friends that way.
Yeah. That's really the one that has kind of the most actual mechanical support in the game, with things like having FC buffs. You're saying, oh, hey, being a really good crafter is the thing that's most important to me. Maybe you want to find a free company that has a house with lots of the crafting furniture in it and runs the FC buffs that focus on crafting a lot.
Or maybe
That's the one where it's not just, hey, you have people who are like-minded, but you have actual in-game mechanical support for it.
Yep. Same with the free company airships. Maybe you want to run Diadem and you want to be able to run with a group of people, a big alliance of people. So find a group that's got a bunch of rank 50 airships to run in there, or you just maybe want to be in charge of building one up or sending it out on missions. Maybe you want to find a group that has a house so you can get your free company personal chambers, stuff like that. So your free companies are probably the one social group that's the most supported in that way. You're right, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
The next one that people form is going to be the link shells. Those are the smaller groups, and we can all have up to 8 link shells per player. Those are the ones that are more specialized in nature. Up to 128 people can be in a link shell, and they're going to be used for things like hunting, or PvP, or your raid statics, or it can be just a social link shell. Just a bunch of friends chatting about weird things. Maybe you're going to have a role-playing link shell, or anything that you can think of. Those are the very more specialized groups for that.
Yeah, we actually use Link Shell for most of our show business.
Yep, we've got one for Phoenix Down Radio. We have one that's for our Diadem group that we use for actually a number of things in that group. I have got a Maelstrom PvP link shell. I've got 3 hunting link shells and then 1 social link shell personally.
I've got multiple social link shells, including one that just has 1 or 2 other people in it who are very close friends that I want to make it extra easy to separate out. Hey, I can see when they're on. We can have conversations that are going to be a little bit more private. Quite frankly, without having to deal with the tell system and having to accidentally send a reply to someone else or getting the constant RMT spam.
I like that too, because then you can have those little private conversations. I mean, that's why we use it for a show business in here too, so we can separate our chatting about our podcast here from the free company, from our other hunt shells and things like that. So,
Oh, I'm sure they would love to hear all of my new stuff, every single little thing we're working on. It would be fascinating.
oh right, please look forward to it. You know, maybe when we get a Patreon or something, right?
Please don't boot us, guys.
It is really nice, especially when people are in duties, to have these things, because we can't use the telesystem. So if we need to have a private moment with somebody else, we can.
Exactly, and not have to be in a voice chat or something like that.
Mm.
Yep, and again, we do apologize if the audio isn't great. We are hoping that Discord will get their stuff fixed shortly. It's been something that's been going on for the last couple of days. We may end up having to have another way of doing this next week or our next show if it keeps doing this. So again, we thank you for sticking around with this. So then the next way to find groups for content you need to run would be Party Finder. And actually, when this came out, you know, I liked it. It wasn't in beta initially. It was something they announced that was coming. And it wasn't in 1.0 at all, and it was not something I was not familiar with at all running from 14. You know, I was used to going into Selbina and the dunes and shouting for parties, you know, LFP, you know, level whatever, Red Mage, please send tell. Those days, right?
You sort of had it in 11.
SOS.
Sorry, what was that, Sale?
You sort of had it in 11 with the Seek Party feature.
Yeah,
you would
but
put your flag up. It wasn't very specific,
but I like the
so
fact.
I'm glad the tables have kind of turned and fallen into the hands of the party recruiters in
Exactly.
14, because
That's what I
I
like.
think that helps the community as a whole, and you can really have a bird's eye view of what's going on in the server at any given time.
Yep, you can. It's a good way to see how busy the server is, and that's one of the metrics that we've actually used back when we talked about the state of the game a couple weeks ago. And we weren't seeing nearly as many Party Finder groups out there for the content that's there. I mean, it's nice that we can get the control of what we want in our group, but on the flip side, you know, when you think about hold on a second. Are we? No, I think we're still going. It showed that we went offline for a second, but I believe we're still running. Anyway, sorry about that. Love getting sidetracked by things like that. When you think about it, you know, you get kind of elitist at that point. So it's nice to be able to, if you could make people search for people to join you. So that's kind of how the 11 one worked. If you threw your party flag up and then shouted that you were looking, then the party leader had to, you know, take what was available at that point versus having to, you know, set the strict limits that they have now.
Now, as someone who hasn't played 11, I wouldn't know that, but which do you guys honestly prefer? Do you prefer the way that 11 had it or that we have Party Finder right now?
I prefer the way that we have Party Finder right now, only because when you put your party flag up in 11, you were seeking a party.
Mm-hmm.
You generally, number one, you still had to shout, because primarily you were going to use it to XP anyway. You couldn't really XP to cap solo.
There was something absolutely soul-crushing about putting up your party flag, doing occasional search to see how many other people in the same level range had that flag up, seeing the number of people drop, and then getting a little curious and searching some of the names and seeing that every single other person was getting a party, and you still weren't.
3 hours later.
Ugh, that freaking
And they
game.
did have other functions that they would allow you to, like, put in a search comment, oh, I'm looking for this, but that was like 3 extra clicks. Nobody hardly ever looked at that, and if they did, it was usually because it was trying to organize a large link.
some of the item ones, I don't think I ever actually saw anyone use properly.
No, because they were all color coded. They didn't even tell you what it did. It was just a little dot above your name when you put your flag up that
Yeah.
says what it was for.
Yeah, it was really hard
Honestly,
to find
it
that.
felt like a cheap hack to try to insert functionality that they had not ever designed for in the first place.
Right.
So, I mean, I have to agree. I do like Party Finder better because it's a little bit easier to find a group that actually you're going to fit into, because you're not going to want to jump into a group that they expect to be able to do this content this particular way. Like I said, maybe it's a learning group and you are looking for a clear group or a farm group. You know, having Party Finder allows you to set those parameters a lot better versus saying, I'm looking for shouting that you're looking for a Thoradin group, please send me a tell or whatever. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's very nice to be able to see that at a glance too. There's no extra legwork. You just click on the Party Finder and you can pretty much see what everybody wants.
Yep, exactly. Plus, I mean, if you can also find if you're looking for a waifu, you can also find that in Party Finder too.
Ooh.
It's true.
Well, I know what I'm doing after the show then.
So
I've actually ran into one before. It was about a year and a half ago. Looking for Lalafell to dress in green and let me chase him around Wardona. It was kind of scary.
screaming, "They're after me, Lucky Charms."
Something like that, yeah.
It takes all kinds, but like I said, some people like to RP. We'll take that.
Yeah. Some of us like to RP, guys.
And we kind of talked a little bit about this. You can still find groups with shouts. A lot of people, when you get the groups, you're going to see it more in hunting. You see a hunt mob pop up, and then you see everybody shouting, "Invite, please," or "Looking for party." It's the way or if you want to look for a group to help you with a specific fate, for a quest or just to level or whatever, you can shout and get people that way. And then there's always out of game locations. You got places like Facebook, Reddit, Twitch, Twitter, and the like you can find like-minded people in there. There's a lot of specialized groups out there that you can post to, saying that you're looking for this type of content. You're looking for a new free company. I know there's a site that where actually I found this free company when 2.0 first opened up, because I was looking for a new group to join for this, and actually that's how I found Phoenix Down, was through a listing of different legacy server free companies. So those resources are out there too. You guys use anything like that to find groups?
Not groups, but just
Not
people
really
to
a
talk with,
fun
basically.
groups, but yeah, just see what people are up to.
I'm feeling. Oh, go ahead.
If somebody posts something on like a Facebook group and it's interesting, it's kind of an excuse to strike up a conversation, see kind of who they are. Especially if they're on your server, then you can kind of get to know them a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty content with my groups for the most part. It's not like I'm looking for raids or anything like that, but it's kind of nice to see what's going on, to talk with people about that. I guess it would be kind of the equivalent of meeting some random person in Busker Runs to Others and just sharing a conversation. God, I love
Sure,
Busker Runs
like-
to Others,
Well, he's got the good
Nice.
hooch, doesn't he?
Oh, God.
among other things.
It's really
I
cool because
think I used the Facebook groups a little bit when I was recruiting for a raid static a while back. Never actually found anybody through there, but it could easily happen.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can
I know
always
that's
find.
some-
Go ahead.
I know that's something that Yoshi P actually talked about. One of the things that was a little troubling about the difficulty they'd set for Alexander Gordius and all that. People did feel they had to go to the type thing where it's like look for groups and look for transferring servers. So I'm sure they recognize that's something that happens, and I think that I think they actually like the idea that, hey, people are seeking out like-minded ones as long as they don't feel like they have to transfer servers just to have a chance at doing content.
Yeah, that was what was really a bad thing, when people think they got to go to a different server in order to get progression through A3 and A4. When that brings us kind of to our next piece. Their communication wasn't very good at that point. They really weren't communicating with the groups that they were working with, or they weren't able to communicate and find a group that was fitting what they wanted. So once you find a group, make sure that those lines of communication are open. If your expectations don't line up with the group that you're joining, you're going to be in for a rude awakening at that point. Either you or them are going to even have to change your expectations, or you can just find another group too. I mean, there are a lot of groups out there, but and that might be the other reason why people thought they had to move, because they couldn't locate people that fit their mold, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do want to touch upon something kind of related to that Sarah and I were talking earlier today about, which is when you're in a group situation like that, and there are people that might not take time frames seriously. I don't know. Like if I say I'm going to be somewhere at like 7 o'clock, I'm going to be somewhere at 7 o'clock. If I can't make it, I'm going to do my best to communicate that to other people. And if I can't make it on like a repeated basis, or there's stuff going on outside my control or inside my control or whatever, I'm going to respectfully bow out. There are people that don't really get that message and don't really have that respect for other people's time, as unfortunate as it is. And I've had to kick people from groups, and it's not always pretty. So please, people, communicate, be respectful of other people's time.
Yeah. I definitely remember when we were talking about that earlier, without getting into too many details. I had a group where I clashed with another member. There was like a repeated time conflict. There was like an errand at a particular time, or they needed to remember to take care of in advance, and it kept disrupting when we were trying to rate each week. And it was something where they seemed to know that, hey, this was that this was a thing. Like the first time, it's okay, that's understandable, this caught you by surprise. But when it came to like the fourth or fifth time, this shouldn't be surprising you anymore.
Yep.
This shouldn't be an issue.
You have to learn to expect that kind of stuff.
Right. It's like you know this is an issue. Either like find some way to take care of it ahead of time, or say, hey, this is going to continue to be an issue. Can we look at changing schedule around to make it work? But acting so surprised about it every time, that just felt really disrespectful of everyone else's time, that they didn't seem to think this was enough of an issue to actually do something about it.
Yeah, or if they had communicated that in advance, saying, hey, at this time I need to take care of this, is that all right? It could have easily been a thing where, yeah, we can adjust our time a little bit. Just let us know ahead of time. So be respectful and make that lines of communication open. So.
Or even, quite frankly, if the answer was, it's like, hey, that isn't something that really works for us, like the rest of our group is only available at this time, so either if there is some other way you can find to handle that, or maybe it would be better to find a group that is going to work better with your time, which I understand that it can feel upsetting to feel like, hey, I have to leave this group because of this type of thing, but it's better than the group saying, yeah, we think you should leave after another month of this going on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, take responsibility for your actions is what it comes down to at that point.
Be an adult about things, and let me tell you, if people keep doing that same kind of thing to various groups, you're going to get a reputation, and it's going to follow you everywhere, and you're never going to be able to get rid of it.
Sad but true.
Mm-hmm.
So once you are able to find a group with similar interests and communicate with them, at that point it's all profit at that point, right? Or in this case, you're going to really enjoy your time in the game in Eorzea, because really you're going to get out of it what you put into it. That's what it comes down to. You put crap time into it, you're going to get crap out of it. But if you put good effort into the game and have a good time with it, you're really going to enjoy this game, and you're going to see it for the way that a lot of us see it. As while it's not a perfect game, it's still a lot of fun, and it still brings us here. And that's why we still talk about it all the time.
Absolutely.
So what does everybody else here that's watching today or listening to us on the podcast, what do you guys do to make the most of your time? Shoot us a message, podcast@phoenixdownradio.com. tweet at us at PHXDN Radio. Let us know what you think of that. What do you do? You know, how do you handle finding groups? What do you do with your free time? Let us know. We really want to hear about that. And like I said, we get emails. We'll read them on the air. We appreciate it. So.
And one thing I want to throw in here, thinking about the whole you get out of it what you put into it, I'll admit that there have been days where I start up the game, I kind of leave it running as a glorified chat client, because what I really want is I'm feeling kind of bored and lonely. I want someone to show up and be like, hey, Sarah, what's up? Let's go do fun things and play among the stars. And so I'll just sit there waiting and getting more and more upset that people aren't showing up, that they aren't obviously reading my mind and anticipating my desires and things like that. And really, sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, today's a day where I'm not feeling it. I'm not going to sit around waiting for everything to fall into place to somehow make me happy and getting more upset when it doesn't happen. It's okay to say, you know what, today I'm just not feeling it. I'm going to take a break and do something else for a bit, and I'll come back to it when I'm in a good headspace for it, and we'll have a good time then. That's allowed.
Yep. Because you don't always have to force this. It's something that you can do, you know, it's an organic thing. You know, just let the game flow.
Yeah, let me just say with that too, that this game, while it is very, very good, you can put a lot of time into it. You don't necessarily have to. It's a lot more forgiving than Old School 11 was, Old School WoW was.
Oh, God.
Old School 11, like, I gave up on Chocobo raising because you missed 1 day of Chocobo raising and 2 months of work were wiped out.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, start me on that.
You miss 1 day of your raid, and you can't get into Dynamis now for another week.
Right, because everyone else has their timer.
Because everybody else is on a different timer.
Yep, or maybe they used up the pop items that you guys spend time gathering, so now you have to go gather them up again.
Yeah,
you can lose a lot of time if you. Yeah, it's very unforgiving.
I feel like it says a lot with 11 that in recent years they actually have gone and lifted a lot of those restrictions. I feel a little like maybe too little too late, but recognizing that, hey, this type of stuff isn't actually making the game more fun. It's just throwing up extra obstacles to people enjoying and having fun together.
Yeah, the problem with 11 though is I think they ended up going too far in the other direction, and they basically made it easy mode.
Yeah. Given where it is at this point, that's not necessarily a terrible thing.
Yeah, though I did try to get back into it a while back, and I had given everything up once 1.0 was released, but I gave away all of my items, all my gil, all my good gear, and I could not play. I could not play the game again. I didn't have any of my macros set up. I didn't have any gear. I went in, I looked around, and I'm like, hi, and left. Kind of sad, but I'll still remember it fondly through rose-colored glasses. You were saying, Sayo?
That's pretty much where I am too. I mean, I've tried to go back to it. I played it religiously for 9 years, until the release of 2.0. And at that point, one of my good real-life friends doesn't play this anymore. He just got into 14 with me, and we were having a lot of fun with it. The game was beautiful. It ran very well, which a lot of times 11 didn't. So it was a real breath of fresh air for me when ARR came out, and I really never looked back. The only thing I really can give to 11 anymore is that I have a lot of the music on my iPhone, and you listen to it a lot, but yes. It's pretty much all nostalgia at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, there was beautiful music. For the time, the graphics were really good. It absorbed you, but like I said, I mean, a lot of what I'm remembering now is remembering it, like I said, fondly through those rose-tinted glasses, and not, the 3 hours spent waiting for party as a ninja, or a ninja was probably pretty fast, or as like a thief or something like that nobody wanted to level up. Who
wants to wake up at 4 a.m. to camp Needhog?
Or who wants to stay up 24 hours to get your Joyeuse from Charybdis?
Yeah, I think think some of the localization team for 14 was making jokes about that recently.
But
You know,
anyway.
how Kamate would wake up at 4 a.m., kill Nidhogg, and then go to work. Something like that. I don't know.
I will admit to having 2 a.m. calls once or twice.
Anyway, I think we've kind
it
of
was a mistake.
waxed nostalgic a little bit too long on that subject.
Derail.
Why don't we go ahead and wax nostalgic on our new lore segment?
All right. So I didn't have a full-length thing. I had a number of people who submitted stuff that they were asking about, and there was lots of good questions being asked, but none of them was really enough to do a full-length segment. So I figured I'd do a bit of like several shorter things.
Hopefully Discord will be good to us and let us get through all of them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, which is fun. There's lots of stuff that it's interesting. There's aspects to explore, but we don't necessarily have enough details to really get too deep to the weeds on it. So we'll just go a little bit lighter in depth. So Emmy Katapow from Ultros asked to talk a little bit about the Goblin language. Which most of what we know is either a couple bits and pieces that we've specifically heard from Koji or observation of their speech patterns. The goblins, they're nomads, they're traders, they kind of travel everywhere and they deal with everyone. For the most part, they don't seem to care which side they're on. They're the one, like the quintessential goblin trope where they will trade with everyone. And so, like a lot of traders, they're going to speak the local language, and at least like they can do some simple terms in various languages. So they speak the common languages used by the spoken races of Eorzea. But not every term in the Goblin language is going to necessarily translate over. I really love the real-world parallels in this. You have a lot of languages. You can find any number of articles of words that are untranslatable in the English language. And I mean, it's not necessarily that it's untranslatable, it's that what is expressed as one word in another language ends up being half a paragraph of discussion in English. German, for instance, a lot of people have heard of Schadenfreude, which is literally shameful joy, and it's the happiness that you feel at the misfortune of others. So when you see someone being a jerk in line at the market, and after yelling at the cashier for 5 minutes, they stalk out a store and promptly slip on something that their kid had spilled. Yeah, they got hurt. Yeah, something bad happened to them, but you kind of feel good that something happened to them. That's Schadenfreude right there.
you have that a lot, Sarah.
For the most part, no. My customers tend to be fairly nice. And the ones that aren't tend to not get hit by buses as soon as they walk out the door, unfortunately. I also found the term torchless panic, which I really, really love. It's literally gate closing panic. But it refers to the idea that as you get older, sort of this fear, this dread that you feel at seeing all the various opportunities closing off, seeing that, hey, you're no longer young, you no longer have all these opportunities, you're kind of being steered into a single track. The gates are closing. And so this kind of really wonderful existential dread feeling that takes a really long time, that you could say it's torchless panic. And the goblins are kind of the same way. They have these terms that are very nuanced, stuff where they very clearly, as traders, are thinking lots about all the various aspects of trade, of economics. Busy deals is a term that you hear them use a lot, which seems to refer to some aspect of business transactions. But it's stuff that, again, doesn't translate neatly. And so they actually do something fairly similar to German, where they're taking a whole bunch of these words and just slamming together into one big compound word. I'd actually really love if anyone listening is or knows someone who is fluent in German. I'd love to talk to as many people as I can about this. I'd love to know how they handled that in the German translation of the game, since this is a speech pattern that for us, it's like, okay, this is a weird goblin quirk. They're talking this way. They're talking about Jingly Shine and busy deals and wide heart uplanders, and that's kind of goofy talk. But I wonder if that sounds a bit more normal and natural for a German speaker, since they already have a lot of words that are in that style, if they had to do some other way to make the goblins a little bit weird.
Like I said, I mean, somebody you can talk to on Hyperion would be Ariala and Spikes. They do the ffxiv.ariala.com site, and they are originally from Germany. So if you want to maybe get in touch with them, they'd be a good resource for that.
Yes, definitely I'm going to be talking to them, but if anyone else listening has insights that they want to add, my German was in high school many years ago, and I certainly don't remember enough of it to feel comfortable booting up the German client and taking a look at that. And definitely you have the thing where we have the Echo as a sort of universal translator. So it's kind of interesting that we theoretically could be talking directly to the goblins and getting this stuff expressed more directly, but instead we still get their kind of pidgin, their mashed up words. I kind of wonder if it is something where the Echo transmits these ideas directly to our minds. Why do we still have different races talk differently? Why do some of them still have this sort of super simplistic bestial type thing? Is that our own perceptions shaping how we see it? We expect this to be a savage race, so our brain translates what the Echo's giving us as this super simple savage bestial thing.
That'd be a good question for
I
Koji.
don't really think so, because there are some, like, for instance, I know there are some Amalja that speak like that. There's some Amalja that are probably older and they speak more eloquently in the common language.
Right. Yeah, I'd really like
So, given
Koji.
that spectrum in a single race, I'm not sure if it can be all slammed onto the Echo.
Yeah, I'd really love to know just what exactly the Echo is doing when it translates to us. I get that it's sort of a convenient trope to say, here's how you can understand people without having to hunt down a translator every time. But having a universal translator creates a lot of questions.
You
And I kind of
know,
want to tell Makoshi studied linguistics.
it had all that. It has all those compound words in there. It's probably just Google Translate.
I suppose. But I think what I really want to know with the goblins is more or less like, what's the feel of it? Like, they're talking in this particular way. Does that come off in the same way? Going to Final Fantasy XI, a lot of people may remember Shantoto spoke in rhyme, but she only did that in the English translation. She didn't do that in the Japanese one. That was a quirk they added to the American one to sort of transmit this aspect of her character. That in the Japanese one, there were existing tropes that they could use to express it a lot more easily.
Interesting.
So yeah. So that's about what I have to say on the goblin language. Definitely some patterns I noticed. There's a lot more I'd love to ask about, so I don't. And I think there's just a lot more that really I want to see more stuff dealing with not just the goblins as they are, but the goblin history, which is a little difficult given how nomadic they are. It seems like they may not keep as many records as we might like. Let's see. Next up, Lenalia Lassan from Hyperion asked to talk a little bit about the origins of the Mikote. So, one of the things that I'm sure you guys have heard me rant about this over and over. Anytime we start getting really deep into the history of this stuff, we get into the legends that people have been passed down about. Oh, this goes all the way back to the third astral, and they don't have any proof of it. They just have stories that have been passed down that maybe some guy heard in a tavern. So we're missing a lot of the really solid sources. What we do seem to know is that Mikote seem to be related to the southern continent of Marasidia, which a lot of you may recognize as the place that a lot of those dragon races came from. Supposedly, during the Fifth Umbral Calamity, big, huge ice age, lots of ice bridges formed in Eorzea and between Eorzea and other areas. And supposedly, a lot of wild game animals were moving along those bridges from Marasadia to Eorzea, and the Mikote seem to have followed them along there, and so that would be their introduction to Eorzea. Some sources claim that Mikote diverged into the Seekers of the Sun and the Keeper of the Moon after they arrived in Eorzea. Others, especially the naming convention, seem to suggest otherwise. The Seekers of the Sun have the initial letter based on which tribe they were supposedly in, while the Keepers of the Moon have those family names, the last names that are passed on matrilineally. Some of those are said to survive since the first astral era.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, which I mean is really interesting if they really do go back that far. Again, we don't really have a lot about if one of those claims are correct and one of those are exaggerations passed on over time. One interesting thing to note is the culinarian actually gives us a little bit of a clue. You have a couple food items that are described as traditional Seeker of the Sun or Keeper of the Moon dishes, mushroom meat kebabs, tuna meat kebabs, things like that, that use some ingredients native to the southern lands. And the mushroom meat kebabs use aloe leaves, which are actually described as being native to Mericidia. And you also have shrimp and tuna in the tuna meat kebab, which comes, both of which are found in the seas of Ash and Jade. Those are the southern seas of Eorzea that separate us from the Mericidian continent. So that seems to suggest you have these ingredients that are common to their cuisine. That does seem to suggest a connection to that southern continent. I know everyone likes to theorize it, so I'm going to get out of the way right now that there's no actual evidence to suggest that Mikote were created by the Allagans.
Aw.
Yeah, I know, again, there's the assumption that, hey, a lot of stuff is like 11, so we can assume the same patterns. In 11, it was the case that the races all start out from the same progenitor race that was mutated as a result of an event in the game world's prehistory. So it's sort of a, hey, they were all this one, and then it just ended up being changed. And so I'm sure people like to think, oh, these races also started out as all the same, and then the Allagans did stuff to make them different. There's no actual evidence to suggest that. Alec Machinery does seem to recognize Mikote. There is one involving a quest which then can have it listed as a prey that's going to be hunted next week. So, given that the Allag were having military campaigns in Mericidia, it's entirely possible that they were capturing Mikote, bringing them back as something to study, poke and prod at, hunt for sport when they got bored. But yeah, right now there isn't any actual evidence that they were some type of Allagan creation. So I definitely want to get that out of the way right now. If they do really go back to the first Astral era, it would be a little interesting to see have there been significant divergences in that time.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to try and get some more information, about that time frame, because there's so little information about it. I mean, even going back to the fifth, it seems like that's where a lot of the information stops, but and very little about the fourth and third.
Yeah, third, we've got a bit just from all the various things we've learned about Allag, since they're kind of the favored ancient abusive precursors. But before that, as I've said over and over, we just don't really have much. And what we do have, there's really no way to tell how reliable it even is. There's definitely a big reliability problem in the data we have, and until I can get something to confirm it in some way or another, I'm not really comfortable making any kind of declaration about it.
Well, how is that machine to read the tombstones coming?
I mean, if someone wants to try to figure out a way to get it from Rowena and not have Rowena send death squads against us.
Has she been hunting after you again?
I admit, nothing.
As we all know, though, especially in RPGs, legends and myths are always true, while historical information is always wrong.
Yeah, that mildly annoys. It's just a feature of the genre, I suppose.
Well, history is written by the victors, so it could always be different. So.
Yep. And I mean, I have gotten the feeling that Koji and like the localization team and the lore teams and appreciate that, hey, there's a lot of stuff that can be lost in the murk of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did start subverting those expectations at some point. At least I really hope they do. That makes it that much more interesting.
It's always nice to see them change it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, my favorite is when you take what seems like a familiar story, all these familiar elements, but then you throw a total curveball into it, especially based on the expectations we have.
But I mean, there has been time when they actually have come out and said that, oops, we screwed up when it came to this particular either localization or this the lore aspect of this particular thing, and they have changed it in the past, or they're going to be, and there's one that's coming forward. They're going to be changing shortly. Is that not correct?
Oh, yeah. It was actually an interesting little tidbit that came up on the official forums where they talked a little bit about the process by which they prepare some of these things. The Owlet drop, which originally was slated to drop in the Great Google Library, and so the description for it references one of the owl monsters that comes in there. But since it now drops in the Fractal Continuum, that particular bit doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And they talked a little bit about the revised edition, which is going to make reference to the fact, to the idea that the owlet was used as genetic material for the Mirror Knights, the owlbear hybrids that the Alligans used. So it's definitely something where if you leave enough details undefined, you do have a little freedom to change stuff around if you need to. I'm sure they'd like to leave some stuff open just for that kind of occasion.
Very cool. So what else do we have to talk about today in lore?
And so the last I had was Seo Mayo, I'm sure would have submitted even more if he could have, but last night started asking some questions about primals. Definitely seems to be a subject that fascinates you a lot. Are we sure you haven't been tampered, man?
I don't know. Is Stella's best girl?
You know, she's not even the tampering kind, so I don't know what your excuse is here.
I don't
But yeah,
either.
we did have a couple questions about it. We were discussing things like the whole idea that oftentimes you have the primals go about, they do this tempering thing, they turn those who summon a primal are tempered by it, turn into mindless fanatics of it. This even happens with primals like Ramu has no interest in tempering the sylphs, but the sylphs who did summon him were tempered by the process. So the summoning is something that's kind of inherently dangerous, leaves you kind of susceptible to the will animal to be taken over by it. And so there's a question of like how Yselle could retain her mind, have this sort of intelligence. I guess I should say, by the way, spoilers for main scenario quest through the end of 3.0 if you haven't gotten to that yet. Though I really hope you have by now if you're listening to us.
I think the statute of limitations on spoilers is lifted.
Fair enough. I always like to be safe about these things. So at least part of it is the fact that, like, as we've Yselle does comment about having the echo, and that's something that seems to prevent us from being influenced by primals. We show repeatedly that our characters are immune to the tampering. It's why such a big deal is made of us. And so Yselle, as someone with possesses the echo, also has that freedom of influence, which seems to apply even when she's summoning a primal into herself. Like, it's possible to be more intimately connected to the primal than that. But the power of the echo does seem to be something that protects her, which again makes me really want to know more about the echo. There's some other aspects to it. The whole fact where the primal Shiva, we do learn, is something that more came out of Yselle envisioning of her than out of the actual Saint Shiva of historic legend. So given that this is already a kind of a creation of her own mind, has her own beliefs and will and personality imprinted on it, it's kind of something where it's already sort of a kindred spirit. It's part of her in some ways. And so I think that also contributes to how she can have her own will. She's not calling this idea that's been shaped by an entire tribe or an entire race of people over years. She's calling something that's very personal to her. Which is also kind of a really interesting aspect of something that makes her so different from all the other primal summoning, and it makes it really fascinating. I really wish that we still could talk to her, find out more about it.
There's no body. She's not dead.
I suppose this is technically true, though. King Thordan and his Knights 12 didn't leave behind bodies either.
Well, we do keep
One
fighting
can
them,
still
though.
That's just because the bard likes telling stories. Yeah, I suppose we don't know 100% for sure. I hope they're not going to make death too cheap, but I admit it's a possibility. I do wonder a little bit, like, when Yselle summons Shiva to herself, she's sort of like, she's this driving force behind it, but most of the primal summonings they have, you're kind of summoning this energy, this etheric energy into this kind of free-floating form. It creates its own form around it. It has its own will. But what exactly, the intelligence that drives it, where does that come from? Is that something that's just like inherent in the life stream that somehow comes forth? And if so, where does that intelligent pattern in the life stream come from? I've wondered if the Ascians somehow create the various things to be summoned by creating that imprinting upon the live stream, if my idea is even correct here. but there's some kind of like not just the knowledge, but like the actual sentience and will within it that somehow comes out and comes into existence. Or it could be that since again these primals are made from the will of their summoners, that the summoners do imprint it with their own will, just oftentimes stuff that they may not recognize, the stuff deep dark down, the deeply buried desires and longings.
Could it also be a part where it's
Tribe.
Sorry, go ahead, Sale.
Or it could be just based on dogma that they've had with their tribe for, like, especially in the Kiss of the Ixal.
Yeah,
With
I mean,
Garuda.
again, you might have, hey, here are these beliefs that are drilled into them. You mix that with a bit of like a desire for revenge, a desire for safety, the deep buried desires of the summoner that they may not even admit to themselves or even recognize in themselves. Maybe that's what goes to shape the primal's mind. It's a weird question and one that I really wish I had a way to study better.
Could it also be maybe part of the souls that make up these the etheric currents? Because a lot of it, when you die, you basically go back to the etheric life stream, so to speak, and then those essences get absorbed in these crystals, and they're using all these crystals to, at least nowadays, summon the different primals. Could that have some aspect of directing this?
It's possible. I mean, like the sort of like those who have come before, those who have died and returned to the life stream, if their beliefs, their thoughts, if all that imprints on it as well. Really, it would be really great if we could dive deep into the planet and start poking around at the life stream there. I'm sure this would not give us any type of lasting negative health effects.
Right? Maybe just temporary blindness?
Mako poisoning.
Inconveniently
Who
jumpy
knows?
nutkins. Freaking nutkins. Anyways. So the other thing that, Seo, you had been asking about was in reference to a lot of you may remember or have watched the battle at Silvertear Lake, the one that was in the opening movie back from 1.0, where you have Midgard Stormer fighting against the Agrius over Silvertear Lake, and the ship crashing into the lake, the great explosion, and a lot of the primals seeming to sort of be released from that. You can see momentarily screen. You can see stuff like Titan flying off from that explosion, and it's sort of, if this primals are like something that's summoned using this process, these crystals, this willpower, this passion, why is it that how is it that the primals would have sort of been released from there? Like, how are they there? How could they have been summoned there? Like, some of them have clearly been around since before this. There's tales of Leviathan having come to attack Lim Solomon so long before the present day. And so how exactly is it that you have them sort of under Silvertear Lake to be released? So this goes back to an idea that gets explored a little bit during the Heavensward quest, and I believe we're going to be seeing a lot more of with the Warring Triad. The idea that for the most, you can't really, like, our attempts to kill a primal, they don't really work. We defeat it, we disperse its aether, it returns to the live stream, and then the beast tribes, they just go and summon it again. In fact, our killing the primal makes them want to summon it that much more because, oh hey, something's feeding our protector, there's dangerous stuff that's out to kill our stuff, we really need help, better call our protector back. So, and a lot of you may remember back in Realm Reborn, in the after main scenario quest, there was kind of this exploration. Hey, we've got this futile cycle where we destroy the primals and they keep coming back worse and worse. This is an untenable situation. We need to find a better solution.
Now,
the Allagans. Oh,
sorry,
go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. Errol Bear in the chat actually brings up a really interesting point. Wasn't that whole sequence technically a part of a dream? So maybe it was just a way to explain in the dream state where the primals are coming from.
So it that has actually been like confirmed by Koji, as this was the Midlander having using the power of the echo, viewing the memories of someone who was at the Battle of Silvertear Lake. You have the whole sequence where a batch of people are on a leave, and so he, in the echo memory, joins them. And as they're finishing the leave, the Garlean host arrives, and the Battle of Silvertear Skies begins. That is actually confirmed, as he is viewing the battle as it happened through the power of the echo. So
Small tangent. Is that the? Do you know for a fact that that's the current leader of the Warriors of Darkness, or is
We
that some
don't.
representation of us?
I mean, it's always been assumed that that's sort of a representation of the generic player character. It's interesting that the Warriors of Darkness have the same appearance. We don't know for sure. Maybe this was the Warriors of Darkness and what's going on with them. Or maybe it is like they're just using it as the same one just for the kind of shock experience. We don't really know yet. We barely know anything about the Warriors of Darkness at this point. But we do... everything that we've been told is that Battle of Silvertear Skies, that was an accurate representation of what happened there. So, as I was saying, we do know that the Allagans, that we don't have a way to kill the primals. But the Allagans, they had a solution. You don't kill a primal, that disperses its ether, it has it return to the live stream, it leaves it free to be summoned. You seal it. You seal it like they sealed the Warring Triad. The primal still exists. It's still there in the world. As long as it's existing there, it can't be summoned elsewhere. So try as they might, Beastmen tribes or other groups can't call their primal back. But it is also sealed up, unable to wreak havoc on the world around it. And that seems to be what had happened. Those primals in some form seem to have been sealed up under Silvertear Lake. And so the beast tribes, as much as they might want their protectors, they can't have them. They're under there. They can't be called. And once the Agrias crashed into Silvertear Lake, breached this ether stronghold of whatever form it was, released them back into the world, this left them free to be summoned once again and started leading to the problems of the present day. Now, this honestly raises a bigger question for me. Something like Bahamut or Odin, that's an Elder Primal. Those have been around for millennia. They could have been sealed up by the Allagans originally, and that's not an issue. But stuff like Titan or Leviathan or Garuda, they're not Elder Primals. They are relatively recent. What sealed them under Silvertear Lake? It couldn't have been the Allagans. That would have been far too long ago. They had to have been summoned and then sealed. And that had to have been relatively recently, if I'm not missing a detail here. And so that makes me really want to know, okay, what put them under there? That is a bigger and much more concerning question to me right now.
Is it possible that maybe they were summoned, very towards the end of the Allag Empire as for like a first time and then sealed at that point?
I don't know. I mean, I don't even know. Like, there's a whole thing with Elder Primal mostly being a matter of how long they've been in existence. But I don't know if there's some way that they say, oh, yes, it has very strong ether, it has a very strong thing, it must be an Elder Primal, or if it's something that's declared based on what we know about them. I don't know.
The reason I ask that is, the thing with Silvertear Lake is its close proximity to Crystal Tower.
Right.
So, I mean,
yes, Crystal Tower, in 1.0, they actually referred to the idea that Zandi's tomb, which turned out to be the Crystal Tower, was buried somewhere underneath Mor Dhona, underneath Silvertear Lake.
So that's the only reason I bring that up. Also, Arrowbear brings up again, is it possible that the Warrior of Darkness could be a primal form of the Warrior of Light? It's an interesting thought. I just wanted to mention that.
That's possibly, but there was that one flashback to where the Warrior of Darkness was a Warrior of Light and then somehow got either persuaded or coerced by a group of Athians.
Yeah.
So
is
then
this is this some sort of parallel world type thing? Is there something else going on?
So that means on the converse, does that make us primals as well, summoned by the people to save the world?
Huh.
Now that you think
the-
about it,
Praying for a hero, this fervent desire, the uncomplaining hero who goes along with all this, which gets explored in the Dark Knight questline a bit. That's an interesting idea.
especially given the fact that Louis Waugh is the person that kind of sent us forward, and 2.4 spoilers, he went on to become Phoenix shortly thereafter.
Okay, I have a whole bunch of questions to compose for Koji that he's probably not going to answer due to spoilers, but I gotta ask him.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, definitely like the whole question of what's going on with the primals, with their nature, with what it means for Eorzea, how all this happened, is something that's been a driving force behind so much of the plot. I mean, Heaven's Word's plot focuses a lot around the Dragon Song War, but also around Thordan's attempt to seize control of this power to take this incredible fort for himself. So this is something that's kind of vitally important to the story they're telling. And the idea of the Warrior of Light being something that akin to a primal itself is a really interesting one. I'm going to start musing for hours if I allow myself, but very good question. I definitely think that's something worth exploring further. But yeah, I'm not sure I have further to say at this point, unless someone else has other questions or comments.
I think that's actually a lot of good information that we picked up from Sayer and his lovely lore segment, as always. Like I said, if you want to make sure that you catch these lore segments when they go live, you can follow us here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio, and you'll be notified when we do go live if you're not watching us live already, if you're catching us on the podcast.
And yeah, don't feel like you need to be asking some big sweeping thing that I can devote an entire half hour to. If you just want to ask smaller questions that we can do in shorter segments, I'm happy to tackle those as well. There's lots of interesting devil in the details, and you never know where some tiny little thing is going to give us, hey, here's something that gives us something broader to look at. So whatever you're curious about, let me know. I love to talk about this stuff. I love to share stuff that you want to know. Especially because, as we just saw, sometimes it leads you down a path we weren't really expecting.
Yep, send those emails, podcast@phoenixdownradio.com. We will make sure that Sarah will get to see those. But you can also catch us on our own little Twitter accounts. Like, for instance, my Twitter account is @Klaus_FFXIV. That's KLAUSS_FFXIV. Sarah, what's yours?
Mine is going to be FFXIV Sayer. That's FFXIVSEYRR.
Luna?
If you want to head over on Twitter and follow me, I am Luna_Vox.
And Sayo, what's your Twitter?
It should be really easy. It's @SeyoMeyo, so that's @SEYOMEYO. If you want to get a hold of me, that's generally a pretty good place.
Yep, so if you want to catch us individually, or if you want to follow us there, by all means, go ahead and check us out on Twitter. But we do also have our show's Twitter account @PHXDNRadio. We make sure that we try and tweet out interesting things that we find, and we love conversing with people out there. So make sure to follow us there as well. Like I said, once we hit those 100 followers at our Phoenix Down Radio Twitter account, we will be picking somebody to get that custom commission. And like I said, go check out our brand new website at phoenixdownradio.com. I can speak today. You can tell it's been a long day, can't you? Be quiet, you.
Someone's had one too many drinks.
I wish I had one too many drinks. Haven't had
That's
any.
for the after show party.
Yep. Come join us later. No, phoenixdownradio.com. Like I said, you can email us podcast@phoenixdownradio.com. And if you want, go ahead and check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/PhoenixDownRadio. We're also available out on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher. Just search for Phoenix Down Radio and you will find us there. We will have, we're going to put links and all that stuff out on our webpage so you can find us with one easy click. Thank you again, everybody who's checked us out today. We had a really good audience. I do apologize that we did have those issues with the audio. I'm hoping that it looks like they've cleaned up a bit now, but I'm hoping that they'll eventually go away. But we will need to have something as a backup plan for shows going forward when we're all kind of spread out across the country. And we're not all in the same room, unfortunately. So these kind of things come up. So make sure to go ahead and check us out next time. If you enjoy what you hear on the podcast, come check us out in 2 weeks. We will be going live on January 30th at 9:30 p.m. will be our next show. We'll be talking all about that producer live letter at that point. So like I said, like us, follow us, subscribe, all that good stuff, and make sure that you can catch us when we go live next time. So for Seyo Mayo, for Sarah Timono, and for Lunavox, I am Klaus Nightbringer. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of Phoenix Down Radio and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for this episode is the copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out their Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/Guilty Gear Rock You. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Atoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.